A few moments later.
Wow! What a hole!
Outer Range Season 2 is all about second chances, figuring out our purpose, and discovering you're trapped in a Back to the Future-esque scenario. Your parents are sleeping with other people.
Oh, this is heavy.
Grab some black mineral goodness and relax, because in this video I'm going to be covering how time works in this series, story summaries, religious symbolism, the ending, theories, and of course my reaction and review. So saddle up and let's dive in. Before getting into any of this Back to the Future, butterfly effect, Doctor Who nonsense, I want to establish how time works in Outer Range, because Season 2 gives us plenty of breadcrumbs, enough to make some croutons of sense out of everything. Obviously, the mysterious hole and black mineral / ooze are a physical manifestation of time. I'll get into the specifics and effects of this substance later, but this is how these characters are traveling to different times and seeing visions of the future and past. In a voiceover, Royal mentions that time is a river. The same thing is repeated by Autumn and his entire family in the finale episode, stating,
"Time is a river, Royal. This is your destiny."
So time is a river. It is flowing continuously, birth and death, almost like passengers on this wild ride we call life. However, people can jump in at different times, and time will continue flowing, even though the characters have jumped into a different spot. So this is how the whole works, and how characters have to, quote, blend into their new time period. Obviously, there are a few hiccups and exceptions, like Perry seeing himself die and then take over as the Perry of that universal timeline, or that Sheriff Joy was in the 1980s and a picture of her appears in present day. It seems like these are more guidelines than specific rules. The story this season is a mad dash to save the Abbott's ranch because they posted their ranch as collateral for Perry's release in Season 1, and old Perry, my boy, decided to jump into the hole, missing from the present timeline. So this is the main issue that Royal and Cece are dealing with, on top of Cece losing her religion and Rebecca coming back and kidnapping Amy. We learned that Rebecca had been cheating on Perry with a local man named Lewis Mays, and she took Amy to a woman's shelter to hide out. Luckily, they interrogate Lewis, learning of her location. We finally figure out where Perry popped out, or I guess when Perry popped out of the hole, learning that it is 1984 as he stumbles upon a young Royal and Cece before they are married. This might be my favorite storyline because it is very Back to the Future 1, 2, heck, all three of them, as we learn that before Royal and Cece were a couple, Cece was involved with Wayne Tillerson. A big yikes.
Great Scott.
I know, this is heavy.
Autumn is dealing with an identity crisis, literally unsure of who she is because she can't remember anything before she was the age of 9. In searching for answers, she attends church with Cece, later reading verses from the Bible as she's on the hunt for understanding and preaching, or rather, the art of persuasion, because these are the first few steps into her becoming this so-called cult leader that we saw in the future with the yellow and blue clothing. So she takes some black material, channeling her inner Doctor Strange to scour the potential futures. Oh yeah, Royal's guess of Autumn actually being Amy is in fact true because of the scar on her forehead from Season 1. The more she learns about the Bible, the more she's learning people are not doing enough. They are instead praying, they are hiding, just sitting online, liking posts and commenting, sending hopes and prayers, #praying hands emoji. Sheriff Joy followed the trail of black minerals, giving her visions of the Shoshone Indians living on the plains with a herd of buffalo, only to realize, uh-oh, this isn't just a vision, she in fact transported back to 1882. Living there with the tribe for roughly 4 years, she also meets another woman who was originally from the 1970s who essentially fell victim to the same time-traveling hole. At the end of her 4 years, she's almost killed by some white settlers mad about property lines with the Shoshone, which is some clever foreshadowing or a reference, I don't know how time really works, it's kind of confusing, to Royal and Wayne's present-day spat about the West Pasture. Joy is unfortunately shot when trying to save a young Shoshani girl and is about to be killed herself, but a young Royal is the one that saves her. That's right, the memories of Royal accidentally shooting his father instead of a deer are changed to him not shooting Joy and instead shooting his father. It was purposeful to save her life, so then she chases young Royal and the two jump into the hole together, spitting Royal out in 1968 and then Joy back to her present day. Rhett and Maria are kinda just here. They're figuring out where they want to be, where they should be venturing to, leaving Wabang in the rear view mirror, but Amy's gone missing along with the bail money fiasco, so the pair decide to stay. Rhett is later approached by Dr. Buten, or Buden, I think it is, I believe, the geologist from the University of Wyoming, who is trying to persuade him into giving her access to their west pasture, but he won't stab his family in the back. That is, unless the price is right. He strong arms her into paying him a lot of money, and essentially he'll consider it. Lastly, the Tillersons are essentially imploding on one another, with all of them having taken some of the black minerals to heal themselves from the stroke in regard to Wayne, Billy's unfortunate gun wound, and then Luke's bison attack. This proves having worked, but the side effects of the future and past visions torment them, causing Luke to be blinded by the light of Autumn and her future cult, resulting in him killing Billy out of spite and then Wayne to burn down their ranch as a literal symbol of their house is on fire. This season, along with the first, deals with clever and ham-fisted religious symbolism, of which every storyline I just mentioned is an allegory for a story or aspect from the Bible. Obviously, there are dozens of Bible verses mentioned or spat out by Autumn, the preacher, and so forth. Those are the easy ones to spot. But the not-so-easy ones were the Tillersons' feud between Billy and Luke being an interpretation of the story of Cain and Abel. Heck, Wayne even calls Luke Cain after he discovers Billy's death.
If I'd known your true colors, I'd have named you Cain.
In this story, Cain and Abel present God with different offerings. Cain offered fallen fruit off of the ground, while Abel presented a flock of newborn sheep. Abel's offering was more attractive, causing jealousy, and Cain killing Abel, aka Luke killing Billy. Continuing this, Cain and Abel were the sons of Adam and Eve, aka Wayne and Patricia. In Genesis 3 from the Bible, this act resulted in Adam and Eve being cast from the garden to live a life of hard labor, meaning the Tillersons, quote, lost the west pasture and no longer have access to the, quote, forbidden fruit, which is the black mineral. Because, surprise, the hole and time itself is supposed to be God. Further example is Genesis 3:17, stating that the ground was then cursed and whatever was tilled up would be what they eat. Tillerson, it's like all connected, man. Wayne also approaches the hole, asking for it to give him a sign because, again, it's supposed to be God, showing him his path as he jumps in. On the other hand, Rhett and Maria can be seen as Joseph and Mary, a couple trying to venture out alone to be married, following a sign from above guiding them somewhere. In their case, not to leave town, and Rhett to return to his family's ranch. Later, Rhett talks with the geologist who wants the black minerals for herself, and he makes a plan with her to manipulate Royal, meaning Rhett is the embodiment of Judas, and is going to stab Royal, aka Jesus, in the back. In the Bible, Judas went through with this betrayal for only 30 pieces of silver, which is sneakily the amount of money Rhett initially asks for.
But it comes at a price. You're gonna pay me a nice sum. Thinking 30,000.
Well, 30,000 rather than 30, but you see the similarities. Royal being essentially the Jesus of this story adds up too, because the name Royal can be connected to royalty, of which royalty can be a king, and the King of Kings is said to be Jesus. I'll get back to this in a little bit, but there's probably a half dozen other religious symbols that I missed, so please, if you pick them up, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Season 2 comes to a close with a handful of answers and about 1 million more questions as we see Autumn and Luke on their quest to toss Amy into the hole. Yeah, through all of the black mineral drug abuse, Autumn was able to unlock the past, present, and future, causing her to remember that she is future Amy and needs to complete this task because tossing Amy in is just the start of Amy's journey and the continuation of Autumn's. Autumn is unfortunately shot by Joy, but completes this task, seeing Amy pop up in what looks to be the near future with two strangers finding her. Now, this could potentially be the rich parents Autumn was talking about, but now explains why Autumn couldn't remember anything before the age of 9. This whole transportation journey was the cause for Amy's memory loss, resulting in her name being Autumn at the end, or at least that's what she thinks her name is, and that's what she goes by.
What's your name?
I think it might be Autumn.
On the flippity flip side, Autumn is rushed to the hospital with a gunshot wound and unfortunately is presumed dead on the operating table. By the power of God, though, she is resurrected, which again could be seen as a whole Jesus metaphor for Autumn, but she comes to essentially by the power of her younger self. She is on the right path. As for Perry, having jumped from present day to 1984, 2 minutes before the night he accidentally killed Trevor Tillerson, he catches himself right before, and instead the roles are reversed, with Perry being the one to perish. Now, Perry makes the tough choice to pick up his own body, toss it into the hole, and resume into this timeline as the Perry. I'm curious how this is going to affect things, if at all, but Royal's face at the end when Perry comes home, he knows something is up. Whether he has a feeling that something is off about this Perry, or that this Perry is the one that he met in 1984 and is finally happy that he made it home into a better situation. The final bit of mystery are the visions Royal sees of his entire family across time, with everyone, including Autumn, saying time is a river, Royal, this is your destiny, and her whispering, this is just the beginning. If we lean into the idea that Royal is Jesus, all of these are his apostles. I mean, the Abbott name is pretty close to apostle, and this is Royal's ultimate sacrifice for the ones he loves, just like the Lord. I mean, in the Bible, Romans chapter 8 states, things seem painful right now, and things may be broken and beyond repair, but don't lose hope because this is just the beginning. Don't lose faith, which was an ongoing theme in both season 1 and this season as well. This is all God's plan, not a coincidence. Now, I didn't know where to shove this section into the video, but I gotta talk about the mechanics of the hole and how the black mineral / ooze works. I mentioned earlier that the hole may be a metaphor for God and his will, which may explain why it just randomly shows up for people who are in need. This is their path. But the physical mineral is concentrated time, which allows the user to see visions of their past and potential futures, while it's almost like a two-way walkie-talkie, for example, when old Wayne is seeing like Perry through his younger self's eyes. We saw this kind of behavior with everyone who took this mineral, and the goofy over-the-top visions were these futures. For example, Wayne Tillerson seeing a floating Billy. This was him going to heaven because of his eventual death. Clairvoyant visions is one side effect of the mineral, on top of healing the user. The reason it heals is because, again, it is concentrated time, meaning your body progresses through the healing process while remaining in present time, or at least that's how I think it works. I mean, time heals all wounds. However, clearly there are side effects. Mental instability is one of them, Luke being the prime example. We further learn that a side effect of jumping into the hole are also high frequency like headache or earaches that typically symbolize that the hole is back, but it is about to close. Now, most of the time, the person who is suffering from this were the ones to find and use the hole. Interestingly enough, though, I noted a time when Joy passed out from head pain and then Perry sensed something in the 80s, but neither of them used the hole. So theory-wise, these two times could be the unaccounted for place that Wayne ends up after jumping in the hole, and potentially Amy or Perry's dead body. Let me know in the comments, let me know your thoughts, because this happens a couple times, and I don't know why. This video is already getting way longer than I want it to be, but some final things are color meaning, further questions, and some kooky theories. Color plays a significant role just like Season 1, showing Autumn's future cult sporting yellow and blue, which are the dominant colors of the Abbotts, mixing a little bit into the greens. Several scenes show them sporting both of these colors. Heck, even their vehicle is these colors, possessing the meaning of power for yellow, which was established by Autumn in Season 1. We can also assume that blue is knowledge, integrity, and persuasion, of which you gotta have if you're gonna start a cult. So there's some sort of connection between Autumn and the current abbots. Heck, maybe the cult is essentially the apostles waiting for Jesus to be resurrected, and Royal, coming out of the hole in the future, is this resurrection. On the other hand, the Tillersons spiral into a color palette of reds and blacks, potentially meaning passion, desire, power, with black being grief, death, mourning, and the occult. Again, all of which they are dealing with, and I could see these colors being of non-believers maybe, because later in Rebecca's visions, she's the only one in black within a sea of yellow. I guess the questions I have for Season 3 is like, how exactly does time work? Because it's mentioned it's a river, it's continuous, but what about Perry jumping into a different timeline, swapping places with himself, where that timeline didn't see Trevor dying? It's gotta have, pun intended, a ripple effect in the river of time. Because what about the old 1880s picture of Joy making it to present day with her family? It seems changing things affects people's memories into a weird Mandela effect situation. I think I have 90% of this figured out, but it's the exceptions to the rule that are wonky. Another example is Autumn actually conversing with her other selves in time. As for theories, I wonder if the whole dispute over the West pasture is Wayne Tillerson's doing. Potentially him jumping into the hole makes him go back in time and manipulate the property lines. On top of that, something definitely changed the current timeline Autumn is on, because her mysterious mother and sister no longer answer their phones, claiming the number is now disconnected. So potentially her tossing Amy into this hole somehow eradicates this present day, or maybe the two headache scenes I mentioned earlier were times where Autumn's mother and or sister used the hole off screen. Either way, I think it would be an amazingly cool way to finish this series by messing with the idea of time as a river and history repeating itself, where all of this is just the stories of the Bible playing out again, and the ending of the series will be the opening of episode 1. A massive stretch, but
Hey, it could happen.
overall, I really enjoyed Season 2 much more than Season 1, even though not a whole lot really happens in Season 2. Like, the Rhett and Maria storyline feels very underdeveloped, along with Joy being stuck in the 1880s. I thought you could have done some really clever fish out of the water material, but just skips forward 4 years. I'll give Season 2 of Outer Range a solid 7.5 out of 10. I am a sucker for intricate, mind-bending sci-fi, and this is expanding on the lore of everything and focusing centrally on more of the Abbotts than the Tillersons, which I thought worked better. I just preferred and enjoyed Royal and his shenanigans much more. However, when Wayne discovers Perry is back in the 1980s, I absolutely died from this.
Perry fucking Abbott is traveling in time. God damn.
That's everything for Outer Range Season 2. What did you think of it? What worked for you? What didn't work? What sort of theories do you have for Season 3, or things we maybe missed? Please let me know anything and everything in the comments. I want to hear some wild, weird, out there stuff, because this show is pretty kooky. As always, thank you so much for watching this. Due to scheduling, I had to unfortunately pull an all-nighter to finish this, but this is the kind of irrational commitment I put into this channel. Far from ideal, so check out all of my other platforms, give me a like, subscribe, all of that. Now enjoy your weekend, do all the things. I'm gonna go take a nap. Peace out.